guys, and welcome back to my channel, and hello to my channel newbies. I think one of the most useful traits in life is not identifying your weaknesses, but turning your weaknesses into strengths. So welcome to my 4th episode of Once Upon a Mind, the fairy tale of your brain. And today we have Belle from none other than Beauty and the Beast. However, today I don't want to talk about the relationship between the Beauty and the Beast or the fact that she falls in love with her abductor, which is basically Stockholm Syndrome, and also the fact that we're just blowing over that he is violent and aggressive. Today I want to focus on Beauty and the Beast as one person and not two. You see, it's called Beauty and the Beast, but the lesson behind it is Beauty in the Beast. It's important to know your weaknesses, but it's equally important to know how to transform those weaknesses into strengths. So today I want to give you a tour of the Magic Castle, aka your brain.
Hello? Is anyone here?
And introduce you to the various furniture living in there. That is your Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts. And of course, Beauty and the Beast. So stick with me to the end of this video so I can show you how each of these characters exist in your brain, how they help you turn your weaknesses into strengths, which by extension brings you farther along in the journey of self-acceptance, self-love, and basically seeing the beauty in the beast. I also want to give you a few tips of what I do to turn my weaknesses into strengths. But before I go on, make Mama Algorithm happy by smashing that subscribe button, giving me a huge thumbs up, ringing that bell so you guys get notified when I'm making new videos, and let's start. Now, this is one of my ultimate favorite fairy tales. I love this fairy tale, but before we get into that, let me give you the Cliff Note version. So we have a self-indulged spoiled brat, gets himself a curse, turns into a beast. He can only turn back into Prince Charming if he learns how to love and be loved in return. And then you have a village girl who loves to read, is obsessed with books, and the village hunk asks her to marry him. She says no. She then decides to go after her father, who is captured by the beast and is held in an enchanted castle, and she decides to take her father's place as a prisoner in that castle. She meets the beast, she's afraid of the beast, she falls in love with the beast, and she learns how to love, and in return the beast also learns how to love, and the spell is broken. And also, the beast almost dies because the village hunk stabs him, but her love resurrects him, and he becomes this Prince Charming, comes back to life. Are you still with me? Harsh truth time. No matter how much we want to deny it, we are all beasts. We are all afflicted with flaws. We have weaknesses. However, we are also Belle. We are also Beauty. And how we handle this balance between weakness, the beast, and strength, the beauty, pretty much tells us a lot about who we are, what we want, and what we strive to be. Basically, not only how to turn your weakness into strengths, but also seeing the strength in those weaknesses. Now, if you're a 90s baby, there are 2 phrases in Beauty and the Beast that will give you chills, and they still does for me. One, tale as old as time. By the way, I'm going to be singing a lot in this video because YouTube, now with the whole monetized, really bust your ass on copyrighted music, so bear with my voice. So, tale as old as time, aka coming to terms with who you are, what you want to be, and taking into consideration your weaknesses and your strengths, and learning to love the beast. Which brings me to the second phrase.
For who could ever learn to love the beast?
You see, the movie doesn't say love the beast. The movie says learn to love the beast. See guys, we're not wired to love ourselves. The world throws a lot of crap in our face, whether it's through insecurities, weaknesses, self-sabotage, and we forget what self-acceptance and self-love is. And like I said in previous videos, if you can't love yourself, how do you expect to love someone else? So sit down, be my guest, and put my video to the test. Let me introduce you to Lumiere, Cogsworth, and the one who controls them both, Mrs. Potts. Also known as the id, ego, and superego. Let's start with Lumiere. You see, Lumiere is the id. Basically, it is the untamed child in you, the one that will do anything to gain satisfaction, has no inhibitions, seizes the moment, life of the party, and we can see from this scene.
It's so unnerving for a servant who's not serving. He's not whole without a soul to wait upon. Ah, those good old days when we were useful.
how sometimes that part also requires validation from somewhere else. And also, it gets pretty melodramatic when it doesn't get its way. Which is why you need Cogsworth. You see, Cogsworth, on the other hand, is your ego. It is the reality check. It is the party pooper. It is what reins in Lumiere, your id, into a more logical time frame. But you can't live with the party pooper and the life of the party and actually be happy and actually be able to make a decision, right? Which is where the superego comes in. So let me introduce you to your Mrs. Potts. Mrs. Potts basically is the moral values, the fiber of your being. It is the id and the ego combined. It is what you've learned through nurture, that is society, your parents, your values. So Mrs. Potts is basically bringing in Lumiere and Cogsworth and helping you make the decision. Kind of like a judge. So you need these characters, your Lumiere, your Cogsworth, your Mrs. Potts, in order to identify your weakness and also to turn that weakness into a strength. Because Lumiere, your id, is the one that will identify the weakness. And his eagerness to fix it, because he wants to gain satisfaction from that, is what will drive you to turn your weakness into a strength. However, you can't go all wild on that. So that's where your Cogsworth comes, your ego. Because he's going to bring in the reality in the situation. Because he's going to be thinking, well, is this actually a problem? Is this actually a weakness? How can I fix it? And what is the realistic way to fix it? So you have your Lumiere, you have your Cogsworth, and then comes Mrs. Potts. She is the one that will smash the gavel down by taking into consideration both the id and the ego and come to a decision. Now, of course, this means nothing to you if I don't make it personal, if I don't give you an example. So here it is. One of my weaknesses is jealousy. I am an insanely jealous person and I compare myself to almost everyone out there. So if I see someone that has something that I want, I have my Lumiere screaming this. It's not fair. I was better for that job than her. I am better suited. I am better qualified. Need to do something. What can I do? Should I burn her? Come on, let me slap her. Please let me slap her. And then I have my Cogsworth rationalizing this. Now, Olympia, you can't slap her, nor do you want to burn her. Because, let's be realistic, if you slap her, you'll get your ass kicked. And if you burn her, you will go to jail. However, it is my Mrs. Potts that took that jealousy, that weakness, took the ideas from the id and the ego from Lumiere and Cogsworth and brought to you the video Compare and Despair. I will link it below. That basically shows how to use your jealousy and your incessant need to compare yourself with others into a fuel and make it into a strength and customizing it to basically what you want, what you need, and who you are. From this scene, you can see how different opinions of Mrs. Cogsworth, of Lumiere, of Miss Potts shape a decision, how they view the situation so differently.
Good. So, you fall in love with her, she falls in love with you, and poof, the spell is broken. We'll be human again by midnight.
Oh, it's not that easy, Lumiere. These things take time.
I mean, Lumiere is like, fall in love and we'll be humans by midnight, because apparently you fall in love like that. Cogswell is like, okay, we need to be rational about this. We have to make a plan, we have to make a decision. And then Mrs. Potts, your superego, basically just points out the obvious. You know, it's great, all of these things, but these things take time. Now, let me introduce you to someone that you hate, that you never want to see, that you want nothing to do with him, the Beast, aka your weakness. So in this movie we see traits such as hot-tempered, impatient, controlling, aggressive, even violent. All of these traits are something that we don't want to be known for. But we see the Beast trying to rescue the beauty, our strength. Now, forget the fact that these are two different characters and look at them as part of yourself. You see, all these weaknesses, all these bad things, they're suddenly come to a halt when you see that the good part of you, the compassionate part of you, the loving side of you is being attacked. And you want to rescue it. And those active steps that you take to rescue it, that's the beginning of basically turning your beast into your beauty. And isn't that the whole underlying meaning of life? Learning how to love both the beauty and the beast in you? Just like in this movie, in the most powerful scenes, we see that beauty and the beast, just like weakness and strength, is a waltz. You need both parties. One holds the other. One moves with the other. So it is how you deal with this relationship that is going to help you turn your weakness into your strength. And as Mrs. Potts says, both a little scared, neither one prepared. So it's logical to fear change. It's logical to fear that transition between weakness and strength, between beast and beauty. But as we see in many movies, the protagonist always goes where they're told not to. Harry Potter goes to the 3rd floor, Sleeping Beauty follows the light and pricks her finger, Ariel swims to the surface, and Belle, she visits the West Wing. The one place she's told she's not supposed to go. But she does it. But guess what? Without those forbidden places, there wouldn't be a movie. But sometimes you have to venture into those unknown, dangerous places in your mind in order to find the beauty in them. When Belle went to the West Wing, what did she find? Aside from looking at herself in the mirror and seeing various versions of herself, which is pretty much self-reflection, which is what we do when we're about to face a fear. But what did she find? That beautiful, delicate, fragile rose. The one that controls the fate of the beast, aka your weakness. And guess what the fate of the beast depends on? Love, acceptance, and genuine affection. And again, if we forget that we're talking about two different people, aren't those the traits that we have to go through to learn to love the beast in us? So we've talked about Mrs. Potts, Lumiere, Cogsworth, Beauty and the Beast. So how do you do it? How do you turn those weaknesses into strengths? So first thing, turn that frown upside down. David Kirpin, I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, I will link the article below, made a list of 20, 30 negative traits that people relate to or believe they have. And he says, pick 3 of those traits. Pick 3 of those negative aspects. So here's 3 traits that I picked. Unrealistic, arrogant, and irresponsible. So after you've picked those traits and you're really depressed because you're like, shit, look at all these negative traits I have, he takes you to the second phase. And this is where he puts a positive spin on them. So unrealistic becomes visionary, arrogant became self-confident, and irresponsible became adventurous. Okay, obviously these negative traits, these weaknesses, whatever you want to call them, may exist in your personality, but by adding a positive twist to them and basically changing your perspective, it can help you fuel that journey, making that weakness into a strength. It can help you gain new perspective, which, by the way, this is what my channel is about. This is what I'm doing. I'm giving you guys perspective and a few tips. So the second thing that I like to do is write down those flaws as a to-do list. Write down those weaknesses as a to-do list. And let's be realistic, guys. That to-do list never ends. We will always be adding stuff to that list. And also, hardly anyone ever ticks off all the boxes from the to-do list. You're always going to have to come back to it. So if you write them down, maybe you feel a bit more structured. And here's my to-do list. Another thing is we see that the beast has a magic mirror to the outside world. Now you can use this as a tip to turn your weakness into your strength. You can literally look at yourself in the mirror, like I said in my exercise in the video above, and ask yourself basically, what are my weaknesses, and go from there. Or the beast has all these castle friends, so get yours around, get your friends around, and ask them to call you out on a weakness. Sometimes our weakness can be a blind spot where we're parallel parking. So you kind of need the other one to come out of the car, see you as a whole, see the car, and tell you how to fit in without having your ass hanging out for someone to hit. So let them be your magic mirror. Let them call you out on a weakness, and from then you can see how to turn that weakness either by a to-do list or by David's method, and turn that weakness into a strength. Now guys, I'm not gonna lie, accepting the beast in you is hard, and it's even harder seeing the beauty in that beast. But by doing things such as recognizing your Lumiere, your id, your Cogsworth, your ego, and Mrs. Potts, your SuperEgo, they can help you try and identify those weaknesses and turn them into strengths. Then, by doing things like taking David's list and putting a positive spins on negative traits can give you perspective. And doing a to-do list, on the other hand, can also give you structure and even hierarchy in the sense of what are the weaknesses that I want to fix first. And lastly, you're not alone. Use your friends. I think one of the things that people refrain to do in life is ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help, whether it's a friend or a therapist. And sometimes a friend, an outsider, can give you a better opinion, a better insight of a weakness, but even maybe show you that what you view as a weakness is actually your strength. Will kind of make you cut through the whole process I just told you, by the way. If you see this scene,
take it with you, so you'll always have a way to look back and remember me.
The key phrase here, guys, is look back. Because at the end of the day, your demons will never leave. And you're going to have to learn to live with them, reconcile with them, compromise with them, find common ground, and
learn to love the beast.
Stay tuned for next week's episode, which will be on a controlling, little anxious father. Can you guess who it is? In tribute, of course, for Father's Day, and to all the amazing dads out there that have supported us, that support us, that love us for who we are. And don't forget, make Mama Algorithm love me by subscribing to my channel, giving me a huge thumbs up, ringing that bell so you guys know when I'm making new videos every Thursday. Just keep swimming. See y'all next Thursday, and that's it, folks. What if I burn her?